Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One with me, Diksha Bisla. We have lots lined up for you on this bulletin. Let's start with the headlines. Supreme Court bench hearing the NEET paper leak case said that it will go above and beyond to ensure that there are long-term safeguards put in place. The court added that it can't let it go on like this before adjourning the case till next week. Chief Justice of India directs that there shall be no posting, reposting, extraction, modification, monetization, recording or review of the live stream proceedings of court on social media or any other digital platform without prior permission. Iranian state media citing authorities report a US strike hit an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval base in Gilan province, damaging equipment at the facility. Iranian state media reports at least 4 people killed and several others injured in an overnight US attack on southwestern province of Khuzestan, while explosions were reported in Iran's port city of Bandar Abbas as well. Russia says it downed 571 Ukrainian drones overnight in one of Kyiv's largest drone attacks, targeting multiple Russian regions and Crimea. The strikes included attacks on a warehouse near St. Petersburg. More than 400 people evacuated by boat from France's Cap Ferret Peninsula as wildfires spread along the Atlantic coast. Thousands of tourists have been evacuated while firefighters battle blazes worsened by extreme summer conditions. Protesters in Tokyo oppose Japan's military expansion plans and warn against weakening post-war pacifist principles. Demonstrations follow Defense Minister Koizumi's remarks on discussing nuclear policies without taboo. Beijing opposes new U.S. tariffs imposed on China and other countries over forced labor concerns, warns that unilateral tariff measures and trade wars are not in interests of any party. Crude oil slides around 2% after hitting $100 per barrel in the previous session. Brent seesaw around $98 per barrel is now on track to end the week over 10% higher.
It's coming.
It was meant to be a day to commemorate the tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people throughout our history. But when a member of our community was stabbed on his way out of the synagogue, the evil we gathered to remember stopped belonging to the past. Suddenly, it was right here in the present. When public officials repeatedly cast the Jewish community as a stand-in for actions of the Israeli government to create a climate in which Jews become targets. You know, when I was growing up, the only time we saw security outside of my synagogue or outside of my Jewish day school was when the mayor came to speak. The police were there to protect him. Today, every time the mayor speaks, we need the police to protect us. Jewish life in America is starting to feel like Jewish life in Europe. armed guards, bulletproof glass, and the constant fear that yesterday's rhetoric will turn into today's assault. So many people know Moshe, so many people care about him. He was just trying to pray at his synagogue, and now we're the ones praying for his recovery. To have been stabbed 200 feet from the Jewish center evokes all the worst images of the Jewish past. If a Jew can't feel safe walking home from shul in broad daylight on a Thursday afternoon on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, then something has gone profoundly wrong, not only for the Jewish community, but for our city. I want to thank Micah for calling right away to offer his support. I want to thank Jessica Tisch and the NYPD for their swift response. And I want to thank all the communal leaders who have come together today. We may not share the same religion, but we share the same faith. Faith in the dignity of every human being, and faith that together we can help rebuild this great city and make it safe for every New Yorker once again.
I know Paris too.
Is that rotor not working? There you go.
Terrorist attack has rocked Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province's Tung district At least 15 people were killed, including 12 soldiers. The Pakistan military's media wing, Inter-Services Public Relations, said in a statement that the attack took place early on Friday. According to the Pakistan military, the suicide bombing was carried out by the banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or the TTP, attackers rammed an explosive-laden vehicle into the perimeter wall of a joint police checkpost. It added the troops pursued the fleeing attackers and killed 12 terrorists during the ensuing operation. Following the attack, Tank Deputy Commissioner Jamshed Khan imposed a curfew across the district and announced a district-wide curfew. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa shares a long, porous border with Afghanistan. The TTP is separate from, but closely allied with Afghanistan's Taliban. Pakistan has accused the group of operating from sanctuaries inside Afghanistan, a charge denied by both the TTP and the Taliban-led government in Kabul. While the Pakistan Army remains a primary target of such attacks, the KP police bear the brunt of localized ambushes. Local police forces often lack the armored vehicles and counter-terrorism training needed to repel armed militant groups.
President Trump said yesterday the U.S.-Saudi civilian nuclear deal will now depend on Saudi Arabia signing onto the Abraham Accords. That's the Middle East peace agreement that normalizes relations between Israel and Arab nations. Well, the president's demand came after the U.S. and Saudi Arabia signed the deal Wednesday. It's not clear if this requirement is listed in that agreement. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt discussed this at yesterday's briefing.
This agreement is still being worked out. It will eventually, hopefully, be finalized with the condition that the president spoke about this morning. But this agreement in particular, as it's been discussed thus far, does give priority access for American companies in the Saudi nuclear energy program.
All right, CBS News correspondent Michael George is here with a deeper look at the Abraham Accords. Michael, good morning. Tell us more about what this is about.
Errol, good morning. All right, let's break this down. So before the 2020 Abraham Accords, Egypt and Jordan were the only Arab nations to formally have diplomatic relations with the state of Israel. Bahrain and the UAE signed the Abraham Accords in September 2020, and Morocco signed a few months later in December. Sudan and Kazakhstan have also committed, but they haven't fully normalized relations yet with Israel. Now, in the years since signing the agreement, the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco have collaborated with Israel on security matters, including publicly announced joint military exercises, along with sharing defense and intelligence resources. And there's also been growing economic cooperation, especially between the UAE and Israel. The total cumulative trade between the UAE and Israel reached over $14 billion between September 2020 and March of this year, according to the UAE's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Errol?
Before this agreement, what was Saudi Arabia's attitude toward the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, that's an important thing to talk about. So Saudi Arabia stated multiple times that it would not normalize relations with Israel without it committing to a path to Palestinian statehood. Now, last February, the Saudi Arabian Foreign Ministry reiterated it, quote, will not establish diplomatic relations with Israel without that. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed last September and again last November that there would not be a separate Palestinian state. Saudi Arabia so far hasn't commented since President Trump said yesterday that the nuclear deal depends on the kingdom joining the Abraham Accords. Errol?
Interesting there. Michael, thank you.
Are rising in the Middle East. This dramatic video appears to show the moment an Iranian missile struck a U.S. airbase in Jordan. The Pentagon says 2 American service members were killed. One of them remains missing.
And now the growing conflict is now disrupting travel. And our Jess Arnold joins us now live from Reagan National Airport with what travelers need to know. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, well, over the weekend, the U.S. State Department issued a worldwide travel advisory for any Americans that are traveling abroad. Now, they said this includes areas outside of the Middle East, that U.S. diplomatic facilities have been targeted even beyond that region. So they want everyone to be extra cautious anywhere they are traveling abroad at this time, but especially in the Middle East. Now, I also want to point out that just last night, the U.S. Embassy over in Bahrain issued a specific alert there saying they've received information suggesting Iran may target locations throughout the capital, Manama, so Americans there should connect with the embassy and follow local authorities' instructions. Now, the Department of State's global alert adds that there could be flight cancellations and delays because of periodic airspace closures in the Middle East. So it's a good idea to check your flight path because many international flights travel through the Middle East, even if that's not the destination. Now, U.S. officials also want any Americans traveling abroad to enroll in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, also called STEP, so the embassy or consulate at your destination can quickly contact you if there's an emergency there. You can log your travel and click through enrollment online as I'm showing you here. Now, when it comes to your flights, the best advice is always to check with your specific airline about any potential delays, cancellations, or other impacts from any travel advisories, guys.
STEP program you're talking about has a section where you can click on Learn about your travel destination. Any country in the world, you click on it, it will tell you the travel advisory level and any dangers or hazards to you, which is very important to know in this world that we live in at this point.
Peter, about Iran, what is the exit strategy?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. There's a military exit where we just keep going just the way we are, and we can even make it a heavier dose, and it's knocking out everything they have. Or there's a smarter strategy, and that's you make a deal, and they want to make a deal. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they do want to make a deal. Sometimes they don't want to say they want to make a deal. They want to be the tough guys, but they do want to make a deal. There's two ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now. I mean, as we speak, we're talking to them.
And you said today that Russia and China are not helping. Earlier this week, the War Secretary Hegseth said that they are enabling. So what is the difference?
Well, I don't know that they're enabling. I mean, I will tell you that President Xi said he will not partake, and President Putin said the same thing. I think, I trust them. They've had a long-term relationship. There could be some things they do, but thus far, at least, it has not been major. I don't think they'd want to have me disappointed. It's a big deal. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not very complex. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very, very simple, actually, but it's a big deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they have even a thought of a nuclear weapon, we will just continue to go at much higher levels. But we are talking right now, and we'll see what comes of it. I'm not, despite what everyone says about the election, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. We have to do it right. Elections take care of themselves. When when I went into Venezuela, everybody was against it. Oh, what are you doing going into Venezuela? And then 2 days later, they said, "Wow, that's fantastic." A lot of people are saying that with Iran already because it would take them 25 years to rebuild already from what they have. And again, as you know, no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no radar, no nothing. I mean, and we, as you know, we just reinstituted the I guess you could go, I call it the iron wall on the water. Nothing gets through. Nothing. Blockade. Nothing gets through. And they sort of have to make a deal. But we are talking to them. I think they're being serious. I think they are being by far the most serious that we've seen them. But that doesn't mean we get there. We'll see what happens. But I always prefer that alternative.
Shalom. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, and wherever you may be. To you I say Shalom, Yahshua Shalom. All right, back with another world news, with a little commentary. All right, this will be short. Just going into some of these news clips here, just very briefly. And two of the main things that stood out to me, all right, were America, which that's a few days old now, but America doing this travel advisory, all right, as well as this border wall thing here, okay, that they're building, right, with the military. Because one thing that I realized about this fence that they're building up, not saying the fence itself looks exactly like it, but those gates are similar to what a concentration camp gate looks like. All right. So yeah, they might be building to try to keep people out, is what they're saying. which they probably somewhat are, but it's mostly they're building this fence to keep people in. All right, because if this thing is gated and locked and no one's going to open it except for those that have a particular access who can get through those border gates. All right, because we're coming into the time where it's going to be all hell breaking loose. These the road not a robot, but I Am Legend, Walking Dead, type scenarios are going to be playing themselves out, where people are going to be roaming, all right, through the streets looking for survival and things of that nature, right? So yeah, they're somewhat building a wall to keep people out, but they're most definitely building a wall to keep people in, all right? And if you can't get through that wall, all right, you can't get out, all right, through that particular avenue, okay? As a matter of fact, let's go over here to, is it 15 or 16? We about to find out. Bear with me a second here. It's got to be 16. Oh wait, it didn't click over. Okay. All right, yeah. Second Ezra 15 and 14. Woe, destruction to the world, and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay, and it's going to be, well, not going to be, there are already so many differences here in Babylon the Great. People have political differences. People have different biases from just skin color or nationality. All right, people just have regular differences. Well, one person bumps into another person, and they have the ninja moment, right? So, and it just keeps going on and on and on. All right, you got generations against generations. Okay, Gen Z, Alpha, whatever. All right, so you got all kinds of division and differences going on in Babylon the Great, which is what it says confusion by mixing, right? So you have all these mixed nationalities of people, mixed age groups, and mixed demographics, mixed political views, and things of that nature. All right. And so people are going, and this is what they were showing you in the Civil War movie, which is predictive programming. All right. They're showing you people going at each other's necks. All right. People being deleted. And, perfect scene. When the crew walked up to the guy, I think he had the two people hanging in the car wash. All right. Nobody's coming. Okay. They were random of all the people in the, can't even say the world, just in this country, in that state, in that city alone, all the people. All right. But they were just a random group that came through. And this guy just had two guys hanging right in broad daylight. Nobody's doing nothing. Same for the soldiers. All right. Well, there was two soldiers. The first one they ran into shooting at the guy in the building, hiding at them. All right, the funny looking dude with the painted nails and stuff. Two soldiers. And then there was the second batch of soldiers who were just deleting people and putting them in the grave. All right. So you're gonna have real life in there because you have ex, militant people here, ex law enforcement and stuff like that. People who have certain special trainings. Yeah, have a particular set of skills, and we'll find you with well, you got those type of guys here, all right, who have former training, who are going to be out here trying to survive for themselves or for their family, for their loved ones, or whatever the case may be. All hell breaking loose. Okay. So these scenarios, all right, are coming to Babylon the Great. For the sword and their destruction draw nigh. It was close. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, their weapons of warfare, right? Whatever they got. Okay. Guns and knives and things. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes in the course of their actions outstanding their power. You see this happening in other places around the planet right now. All right, it's not to that degree yet in Babylon. I think the farthest they've gotten probably is ICE. Okay, with the isolated, storming the Capitol event, but that really wasn't. It was somewhat staged, but yeah, the biggest issue they have going on right now to that level is ICE. And even the tension between ICE and the citizens haven't even really gotten super deep, unless you want to include the deletions, okay, that ICE has done. Okay, I saw an article the other day, and one of the things said, why can't ICE stop deleting people? Okay, so anyways, So, you know, people have their issues with the government, with the local law enforcement, with ICE, with something or somebody. All right. And they have their differences. Okay. And so this is what is going to play out, all right, fully, all right, to where there's no help, there's no one stopping anyone, all right, sedition among men, okay. It says in the course of their actions start standing in power, all right. That's when they're gonna, you know, like they did in I know I always mention it, all right, and actually when I mentioned sedition, but in the Batman movie #3 with Bane, where he had these people against these people. Those people said that, hey, if we don't get the hell out of here, we're gonna die. If you guys blow this bridge, we're gonna die. Okay, but then you have the other people like, nah, if we let y'all out, hey, it's doom. Okay, so you had these two parties that were going at one another, and really it was the simple play of divide and conquer, because both parties, of course, speaking movie-wise, both parties were the innocent parties, but they were used and pit against each other. So the actual power at play wasn't ever looked at. And that is exactly how the elites operate, okay? They put everyone else against one another so that no one looks to them except for when they need help. And one of those major things that's coming is what? When they need sustenance, when they need to survive, when they go back to their basic needs, which is to survive, okay? They need food and water for themselves or for their family, for their children, whatever the case may be. And that's what Esau wants, because he wants everybody to dive into his micro sea hip. All right, a man shall desire to go into his city and shall not be able. And that's what's happening with these border walls, with all these tensions rising, with these differences, but also going back to the first thing that we mentioned, these travel advisories, all right, for flights. That's part of it. Let me get this real quick. Let me pull up another book because I want to come back to this. All right, these travel advisories, okay, are part of warfare, okay, because you don't want to go fly into a zone where your plane might get shot down, or you might get stuck in an active militant zone. All right, you don't want to go traveling somewhere where your country is at war with another country, or an active war with another country, or even in if it's just a proxy country, a place, or whatever the case may be. So you get the point. So it says a man shall not desire to go into a city and shall be able. All right. So these issuing these flight warnings are part of that too. All right, because it happens all the time, because that is a flight risk. Okay, but going here, Matthew 24 says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. And what have we been hearing about? We've been hearing about Babylon the Great and Persia ramping up. All right, since these and look what you have, you still have number 47 boasting proudly. No damn well, because here you have Pete Hegseth getting roasted on the panel. All right, but then you come to a Trump interview and he's talking as if they have everything under control. Well, wait a minute, doesn't sound like that when they were talking to Pete Hegseth. So now you go over here and he's talking about, oh, we're going to do this and they'll do that, and then we do this and they'll do that. Well, it doesn't look like that way when we're looking at the news. It doesn't look like that way at all. All right, it looks like y'all are getting your asses handed to you, and guess what? You are. Not to say that America is not striking back, but from what they saying that Iran can and cannot do, well, Iran is showing the world otherwise. All right, Iran is putting up that fight. Okay. And then the only thing it's doing is what? Is weakening the world, the global economy. All right, Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb, whatever you call it, the Gate of Tears. All right, these are strategic choke points. And what does it do? All right, it restricts resources more and more and more. Oil prices go up. Shipment containers either don't arrive or they're late. All right, so both things disrupt the global economy. See? And that's why we keep talking about what? A worldwide famine that's coming. Okay? The Spirit has me talking about that over and over and over. Famine. I keep mentioning famine over and over and over. But it's coming. All right? Israel ate leather. Israel ate donkey head. Israel ate bird dookie. All right. Israel ate babies. Israel ate leather, and so on and so forth. Okay. Lamentations 4, it's better to die by the sword of a famine because these pine away. Strictly through for the ones of the field. Hunger is a slow, painful death. And guess what also brings hunger? War, all right, drains funding, all right, drains resources, okay, different materials. So all these things play up into a big final judgment the Lord is going to bring forth in these latter days. All right, and it's going to eventually, everything is going to hone in on Babylon the Great. Let's keep reading. It says, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places, in different places. And we see every last one of these things happening, especially earthquakes, right, on a high level, right? I'm pretty sure if I check my GDAX every single day, there's an earthquake. If there's nothing new in any of the other categories, there's definitely multiple earthquakes almost every single day, okay? Or maybe a day or two between one another, all right? But earthquakes are happening on a very high level. In what? Like it says, diverse places, places that are unheard of, places that are unusual, or places that are very risky and dangerous for an earthquake to be happening at. But these are coming as what? Judgments in these final days. That's why it says all these are the beginning of sorrows. And it says in 2 Esdras chapter 9 that this is the Lord visiting the world which he made. See? Powerful works and wonders and fixing signs. All right? That's what these signs are. Blood moons. I can't even remember what it was. There was a recent one that was supposed to be coming up in, I think August. I think it was some kind of eclipse. I have to double check it again because I constantly check into those eclipses and things of that nature. But what does it tell us in Jeremiah 10? Learn not the way of the heathen, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, because the sign, the key word sign, all right, from heaven are all part of what the Lord is doing in these latter days. Let's go back to Esdras and read some more. So a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So you got flight advisories happening, all right, because of war, okay? But the most recent one we're talking about is America. And you got them building this border wall up, all right, with all those layers of fencing, barbed wire fencing, okay, and those big, huge, welded together steel gates that no one can have access to, okay, unless they come with some welding equipment or chainsaws or whatever. And more than likely, there's some cameras that be, send some troops out to catch up to people, okay? So they can use those to lock people in. They already have concentration camps here, okay? In Babylon the Great, they're using these detention centers and buying warehouses and things of that nature. So they have these places here, all right? And then they're building up, once again, this huge, huge fence wall, okay? This is very big this time, all right? Very big in the Trump woods. It's very big, okay? It's really big. It's the biggest wall ever, okay? But it's a real big wall, and the gates look like gates to a concentration camp, because eventually they're going to be locking American citizens down and locking American citizens in. Let's keep reading. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their house. Because imagine, because this place is it's going to be like a kill box, okay? Because imagine not being able to book a flight, all right? No trains. Of course, trains don't really matter because you can only go from city to city, state to state, maybe, all right? But no trains, all right? No kind of, public transportations. All right, so no Greyhound buses and things of that nature. You ain't gonna be able to book no flights. You ain't gonna jump on no boats unless you got a private boat, but you probably get caught up to by a Coast Guard or something like that. You have no way to leave a country where in every single state, in every single city, there's all hell breaking loose, and these people will be nothing but confused because they didn't want to hear the gospel. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. There you go. See, survival mode. And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and what we just mentioned. And for what? Great tribulation. See? For basic necessities. Food, water. All right? And for great tribulation. So for what? Survival. See? This is what's going to be taking place in Babylon the Great. Jeremiah 30:7. A time like no other. But he shall be saved out of it. And he's the hopeful elect remnant. All right. I might have to jump to the other. Yeah. I want to go into some of this here again, refresh myself on this. I was listening to it the other day. I want to jump to 16 for right now because we got to jump over here. All right. Yep. Woe is me. Woe is me. Second Ezra 16 and 17. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Pray, beg the Lord, trust the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shah. All right, because he already gave us the warning. All right, he already gave us the prophecies to look out for. He told us that certain things were going to happen. He told us that some of us would be in prison, some of us will be beheaded, some of us will be delivered, some of us will be whatever the case may be. He already told us I'm not going to say every scenario, but he told us several scenarios to give us what we need so that we have the heads up. See, and that's why he told the prophets to say what? To give them a warning from me. All right, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, punishments for correction. All right. These are coming in the forms of judgment. Well, the judgments are coming in the form of these different disasters, however you will. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. All right? So the punishments that are coming, these judgments that are coming out, okay? People are still not going to repent. They're eventually going to either be deleted or they're going to take the sea, which by default, you're going to be deleted because you're not going to make it. All right? Man, that was something else I want to talk about. I got carried away with those first two topics there, but this flight advisory. But that was the main thing, to talk about war. All right, because war is coming to Babylon the Great. All right, war is coming to the world. World War III. All right, that's what you see happening. Joel 3. Where it says, "Wake up the mighty men." Let me get it real quick. I wasn't expecting to go over there, but I get it anyways. Because that's what you see happening, man. More and more nations are starting to, move closer and closer to bringing it all home and going head up, right, in the so-called Middle East. Here it is. Here, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles: prepare a war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So everybody has a fighting, standing army. All right, go come on down and get busy. Beat your plowshares and the swords and your pointed hooks and the spears. All right, yeah, stop all the everything that you were funding, like America started to tap, GM and other companies or whatever to build missiles, right, and stuff like that, instead of cars, because shit ain't selling. People ain't got no money, man. All right, there's only a select few people that actually have money to still toss around. And eventually, that's going to run dry for them because the economy is going to hit them as well. Because nobody's going to be safe from what's going to happen to the economy. All right. Nobody's going to be safe from a blackout or EMP or whatever the case may be, grid reset, whatever you want to call it, all right? Nobody's going to be safe from that. Nobody's going to be safe from digital currency, except for the hopeful elect remnant, right? Because we know what we mean, we're just going to fall off the map, all right, and proceed to the next portion of prophecy. But back to this, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pointing hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong, all right? You see this happening? Look at Persia right now. Persia is striking all these targets. You got news people talking about, well, America's probably going to strike this and we should strike that and that. Well, America got nothing for Iran from the air. They have to send boots on the ground, and they're not going to have anything for the boots on the ground because Persia has had several years to prepare for an American invasion, all right? Knowing what they're going to do, knowing how they prepare, and, just knowing Babylon's moves in and out. But that's going to be the fulfillment of a draft, Joel 2, all right, where I will move from far off to the Northern Army, okay? American draft is going to have to happen because they're going to need people to fly over there, all right, and be a part of those boots on the ground, okay? Be a part of those casualties, but you know why? To fulfill prophecy. Because the Lord has to make that supper of the great God for those birds, man, the fowls of the air. All right, they have to be dead bodies over there. All these countries, all right, including Babylon the Great. They're not going to be an exception, all right? Babylon the Great is going to pick up a lot of people. We're going to get that scripture. We're going to go back to Second Ezra, all right, and pick that up, all right? There's going to be a lot of casualties, okay, drafted to the so-called Middle East to be plucked on by birds, all right? Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, to gather yourselves together round about. Did the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. All right, and speaking of Persia, they're one of the ones mentioned in Ezekiel 38 chapter. All right, to be guarded up under where it says Gog, which is talking about Russia. All right. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. I think it talks about this in Revelation as well. All right. Thrust in the sickle. All right. Harvest is ripe. Also Isaiah 63. For the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. Yeah, the day where all these fighting standing armies, all right, of the world are going to clash in the so-called Middle East. Okay, bombs over Baghdad. All right, don't even bang unless you plan to hit something. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. This is what the Lord is moving. He says, every battle of the warrior is fought with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this, World War III, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And guess what? It's already burning, all right, with fuel of fire. Well, on a lesser level, all right, because you got tanks and bombs and drones and things happening. But ultimately, all right, the ultimate end game is for the Lord to launch those missiles, where he says these are the weapons of mine indignation. And all those missiles are going to be where? Directed, Joel 2, directed it directly at Babylon the Great, all right? Which it goes on to talk about, you know, all this destruction and stuff like that. Okay. Oh, let me go and get this, go back to, maybe I can back up to Esdras. Yeah. Yep. Let's start right here, 31. Take Esdras 16 and 31. Even so, in those days, there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword, wherever weapons of war. Survival mode, right? And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and the ways and on her path shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. It shows you, you know, a scarcity of areas being run through. Okay. It says the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, going back to the war, right? The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. See that? Okay, so this is coming. Draft is coming. All right. Babylon the Great moving entirely, just moving their army to the west. It is coming. Okay. And you know what? Let me get that too. Speaking of, since I mentioned that, and then we'll start to draw a close here. 20. Yep, 20 and 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai, and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with the Mashiach 1,000 years, because in these concentration camps, you're going to have believers, man. Okay? It says in 2 Ezra 16, still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. All right? The devil shall cast some of you into prison. Okay? That's also Revelation. I believe it's like the 2 or 3. Okay? Let me see. I'll just type it in. Cast some of you into prison. There it is, 2 and 10. Fear none of those things. Look, the first thing the scriptures say, fear none of those things. All right? Because verse 9 says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Yeah, you have this truth. All right. You have this treasure in earthen vessels. Okay. You have this wisdom and knowledge and this understanding, which the scriptures tell us is going to be wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. Right? Wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. The strength, the strength of salvation. See, the strength of salvation, because knowing what to do, knowing who to trust. All right. The Spirit of the Lord lifting up a standard, knowing those things. Knowing that the Lord said, my servant shall eat. Okay. The strength of salvation, all the things that you've accumulated, all right, in this dry time, which is really not dry because there's a lot of active things happening. Okay, plagues could have gone into plagues or whatever. Many things are happening, all right, in different categories that the Lord said would happen in these end times. See, the fear of the Lord is treasure, because that's where it all starts with. Because that same knowledge and wisdom, well, it starts with the fear of the Lord. All right, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Says that in the early part books of Proverbs. See? And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, going into the wicked Israelites of back then. But you know, we sometimes do apply it to these Edomites and these Amalekites in particular. That's when those Amalekites, all right, those that are saying that they are us and they're not. All right, what hast thou done to declare my statutes, and that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing that how you hatest instruction? Yeah, that's Amalek all day. Okay, greater Israel. But are the synagogue of Satan? Okay, yeah, the with the out of the mouth of the false prophet in that Roman Catholic Church. You got the serpent's head. You got the Pope opening portal, or not this Pope, but one of the popes talking about opening portals. All right, you got a serpent head in their cathedral or whatever it is. All right, the auditorium room or wherever they sitting at. All right, in their place of congregation, you got a serpent's head in the background. All right, they love some Baphomet and all kinds of stuff like that. All right, but the scriptures say, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer." Okay, behold, and the things that were said in these ancient churches, it was said to us because we are those same people reincarnated. All right, you had a 2/3 back then, and then you had believers back then, and everybody's reincarnated. All right, Lord willing, we are of that number. Okay, for none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. All right, let you know that, hey, we're going to get tested. All right, a time of testing. All right, the whole world. The ultimate time of testing is the implementation of the RFID micro chip. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. See, that you may be tried, the concentration camps, and ye shall have tribulation. There's that word tribulation again. Tribulation, 10 days. All right, perfection of time. Could be actually 10 days. Could be less than 10 days. Could be a month. Could be a week or two. You could be there for the duration of Jacob's trouble until the Lord returns. Okay, or maybe you meet a death sentence and you go be with the Lord and you get risen up first. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. However it plays out. All right, the Lord already gave us the keys. Okay, the different prophecies and different scenarios He gave us already. And here's the next thing right here: be thou faithful unto death. Doesn't mean you're gonna die, but if you gotta die, all right, you know that you took the death instead of taking the bag. All right, you took the death instead of taking the chip. All right. You took the death for the glory of Yahweh Shai's namesake in the kingdom, right? For all the believers and even the non-believers, because ultimately the kingdom is still for the 2/3. They just have to die on this side. That's the only difference. 2/3 die on this side. The remnant are delivered. But it's really for everybody, okay? Because you're doing it for the kingdom's sake. And you will be risen first with the Lord, all right? But this hell is coming, all right? The hell is coming, okay? What do you say? My dad's favorite movie. Tombstone. You tell him I'm coming. You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me. But that's what's coming to Babylon. That's what's coming to this whole globe. Hell is coming, man. All right, and I'm not talking about some underworld. All right, we talking about conditions. We talking about trouble. Talking about fear and trouble on every, like it says in Amos. All right, trouble on every side, man. Okay, people are going to want to die. They're not going to be able to die. All right, people are going to get desperate, and they're going to take the sea hip. And many other things are going to be happening. Diseases, or whatever you could think of, war, famine, all the different things we talked about. And it's Eddie script. What does script say? These things shall come to Babylon in one day. All right, death, mourning, and so on and so forth. And they're going to come in her perfection. Excuse me. So it says, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Yep, one of my favorite chapters, 2nd Esdras chapter 2, man, where Yahushua himself are crowning those 144,000 men with crowns as kings. All right, and the scriptures say that we will ever be with the Lord. All right. Matter of fact, let's get 11. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. And all you believers out there, he that overcometh, right? He that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. And what is the second death? The second great death? The fire. Right? The first was the flood. The second is the fire. All right? And why are you not going to be hurt from a second great death? Because the Lord is going to deliver you in the chariots, or Lord willing, that we see each other in. All right? So that's pretty much it. I know we got into a lot more than I want to get into, and I actually forgot about my other talking points. So if I figure out what it was, I'll come back maybe if the Spirit allows, and if not, hey, we got a session in. I'm going to end it there. Enjoy the rest of the news. Shalom. Lord, what you edify. Shalom.
Блять, у меня рация, сука, в кармане.
Еще один. Еще летит нахуй, блядь. Артур меня кое-что напрягает. Че? Блять, у меня рация, сука, в кармане. Живой? Да. Тоже. У меня вкус не ебало. Еще летит. Блять, тут баллоны газовые. Тихо.
Пиздец. Жестко, блять.
Ебать, блядь. Пизда, чуть окна нахуй не вылетели.
С первых событий, ёпта. Нет, блядь. Жопа, ёпта.
Нет.
Смотрит там что? Это уже 30, да?
This is Dabu 7. You're looking at smoke that is rising in northern Iraq after the Erbil airport has come under attack from Iran. This airport suspending flights. They're saying there's widespread attacks, drone attacks coming in, hitting all over the place, and this war is far from over. This will continue this way, I feel, until the big event hits America. And when it does, it'll be too late. Nobody does anything to try to stop anything. Everyone acts like this war isn't happening, acts like they're not out there genociding people in Gaza and Lebanon and all these other places. Everyone just wants to turn a cheek to it all the time as this war rages on. Although a majority of the people out there do not approve of this war. You wouldn't know so, though, because there's no protests in the streets and there's no one voicing anything. They sit there docile. When this turns into a humanitarian crisis, let's see what happens. We're going on the 14th night, 2 weeks straight of pounding them, hitting all types of different places. And you can see in the clip here on the right where he's pointing to the South Pars oil field. They feel this is a likely place that's going to get hit and targeted outside of this nuclear power plant, which is saying, of course, if they hit that, it's going to be a disaster. There's another power plant in the north of the country. If that gets hit, that right there generates 40% of the electricity within Iran. I mean, one hit, it's out, and you've got a major humanitarian crisis again. Desalination plants getting hit, all types of other structures getting struck by the U.S. military, with Trump saying he's going to meet up with Netanyahu here within the week, his boss, so to speak, right? And if you don't know, Israel has made the official statement saying they're going to sit out right now. There's no reason for them to be involved in this. They drug us into this war, and they have the audacity, Smotrich, to sit there and say, we're not going to do it. Why get involved right now? The U.S. can handle it. No. This is going to have huge repercussions in the end. I can say that a million times, but people are just going to find out the hard way because people just look at it and they look the other way. And one of those times is going to be one time too many. People that don't have a plan for what's coming anyway in terms of this global reset are crazy. The Houthis threatening to shut down the Strait of Tears. And if they do this, you talk about things going into overdrive. People have largely missed the fact that, like the egg prices, the meat, the gas prices, Trump barked at all these places and said, lower your prices, keep them at a certain level, while the rest of the world continues to move up. At some point, you got to snap back to reality, and it's going to be crushing because prices are not coming down, and this whole thing is not eased up. And people, again, are going to find out the hard way when it all catches up. So you have a recall on all these things out there because we're under attack, and gas crossing 4, heading toward 420 here. Yeah. We'll see what goes down from here because our reserves are at bottoms still, not being filled. That is a setup, straight up. Join me for the live stream, going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, talking about this in greater detail.
Lucas, as you see these as targets, what do you think we might hit first?
Well, I don't know if we'll hit it first, but the Damavad plant supplies 40% of Tehran's electricity. The Bashir nuclear power plant, probably not likely a target. The Russians built this. They still supply Iran with low-enriched uranium.
Because, Lucas, we should say there's a risk to blowing up a nuclear plant.
There's no question. Now, the South Pars gas field, this sits on the largest natural gas field in the world. Israeli forces hit this on March 18th, in the beginning of the war. Iran responded by hitting the Qatari side of this natural gas field. In terms of targets.
But let me ask you here, this is the Strait.
Yeah, this is the Strait of Hormuz
so
right here.
If we want to send a message in the Strait where they're hitting ships in the Strait, wouldn't that be a place we go?
It would. The only question is what would be Iran's response? We've seen Iran hit back in Qatar's oil field, natural gas oil fields in the UAE. That's the big thing.
You mean they'll have a like response? If we hit a power plant,
no question. That's been this tit for tat the whole time.
Tens of thousands of people across France and Spain have been forced to evacuate as wildfires sparked by the summer heat waves tear through parts of the countries. 2 fires west of Bordeaux in southern France threaten a major tourist hotspot, with some holidaymakers seen leaving Cap Ferret by boat. And in Spain, police have arrested 1 person and investigated another over one of the main fires affecting that country. Our correspondent Sadia Chowdhury reports.
Residents have long gone. Left behind are their homes, businesses, and the Spanish Civil Guard. They've been tackling this and 2 other wildfires in southwest Madrid for days. Blazes that are being fanned by a heat wave that shows no signs of let-up. The Spanish government has declared a national emergency. That brings the police and security forces in charge of this huge firefighting effort. The vulnerable and most beloved being rescued first. The Prime Minister has been holding emergency coordination meetings. He addressed his nation on social media. I want to extend my full solidarity to all the people who are watching as the fire scorches their woodlands and threatens their homes. The government has deployed all available resources. It will stand by your side during the emergency and in the recovery. Smoke from the blaze is visible even from a distance. This fishmonger among those evacuated.
All around the town was smoke and fire. I was scared. Everything was just fire and smoke. People were nervous. The elderly were walking one after the other. It makes you feel bad.
Europe is the world's fastest warming continent. In southwest France, more than 34 square miles have already been burned. This fire raging since Wednesday.
We were evacuated, I think it was around 2 a.m. The flames were behind the house, then they receded, and now I don't know. I just don't know. We're just waiting for news.
More mass evacuations on the Atlantic coast after 40,000 had already left. Some on boats, residents and tourists alike.
We have to evacuate all these people because we are not sure of the way the fire will end. All these wildfires are not usual here in this part of Europe, in southwest of France, but since maybe 5 to 10 years, it's more and more coming every year, and we think it's due to climate changes.
France has asked the European Union's civil protection mechanism to be activated. That would bring an international effort to help bring these fires under control. Sadia Chowdhury, Sky News.
Oh non.
Você foi o ônibus, você foi. Tá descendo o ônibus. Tá descendo, você foi. Você foi o ônibus. Coitado do ônibus, tá rodando o ônibus. Vai virar. Vai capotar. Parou. Venha ao contrário, venha aqui, você pega